family affairs.
Okay, so this is the reality.
I need to go.
This is the reality. Most Muslims I know have no problems with Jews, and they will go to great lengths to defend Jews.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Now, what the real issue?
Condemn the killing of innocent Palestinians.
Ali.
Like every Yemen.
Ali.
Let me
speak. I let you speak, Ali.
I condemn ISIS. Anyone that kills innocent people. You condemn.
I condemn ISIS. I don't condemn Israel. I support Israel.
You condemn the killing of innocent Palestinians.
Any innocent person being a Palestinian.
You condemn the killing of innocent Palestinians.
So I'll give you an example of a.
Yes or no?
Ali, I'm giving you an example of one that I actually do condemn. So if you listen, So there was an example where there was a baby that was burned to death. There was an arson attack on a family.
Yes.
Completely condemned that. There was another instance when there was a 16-year-old Palestinian boy who was burned to death by football hooligans, Israeli football hooligans, racist thugs. May they rot in jail.
I'm talking about IDF.
So again,
I'm talking about IDF. I'm not talking about hooligans. I'm talking about Israel soldiers killing innocent Palestinians. Do you condemn that?
So any
You're going to lose your job. Come on. Your funding is going to stop.
What funding? I don't
Your
get funded,
funding.
Ali.
Okay.
What funding?
Can you condemn? Look, listen. I dare you to say that. You know you're losing your job. Do you condemn IDF soldiers killing innocent Palestinians?
Here we go. So when an IDF soldier kills an innocent civilian, they go to jail, and I support that. Now, what I was going to say with Muslims and anti-Semitism, most Muslims I know will go to great lengths to explain why and how they are friends of the Jews and support the Jews, and I believe that in their heart. Like, I mean, so many Muslims, they will explain how Muhammad had Jewish wives, how the Jews were protected under certain khulafa. So this isn't. However, when it comes to Jews living as equals alongside Muslims in our own state, that's where the problem occurs. Most Muslims I know do not support the existence of Israel. Most Muslims do not support the existence of Israel, and that's the problem. They are fine with the Jew as long as the Jew is the dhimmi. They are not fine with the Jew living in their own state alongside Arab or Muslim states. And that's the issue.
Could you argue that you're not a dhimmi under the British rule yourself, because you yourself are subject to the laws, you pay tax, and you are bound by the laws and regulations, and they have a duty to care and protect you.
And this is why I believe the Jews need a state, because in the UK it's good at the moment, and in Germany 80 years ago it was good for Jews before the Holocaust. So what we need, we've been persecuted by various people. Sometimes it was good for us, sometimes it was terrible for us, but we need our own state to ensure that we can take our own safety into our own hands.
To be honest, without coming across rude, I don't dismiss anything that you said or anything that your brother said, but we're having a discussion. He came in and you two just started an argument, and from there things just rolled.
We've got history, Ali, and
it had a snowball effect. Some of the things that you mentioned, I didn't agree with.
Okay, so
I don't
let's
think
go
they were relevant. Likewise with him as well. But I don't get where the discussions come about. But one thing you mentioned, from a statistical perspective, if you have a look at the population of Muslims relative to the population of Jews, and you mentioned one statistic about killing and another statistic about killing within Afghanistan. If you have an internal conflict within a particular locale or within a particular group of people, generally people outside that group will not intervene. So if there was a conflict within my household, this guy would get involved and nobody would get involved. Now the incident within Afghanistan, people generally speaking from an external perspective won't get involved. So you mentioned there's 52,000 Muslims being killed.
It's 42, but yeah.
42, sorry. So 42,000, and you mentioned particular statistics about Jews. They are not relative for two, you can't compare them to for two reasons. One, because the population of one group is a lot higher than the other. So relatively from a kind of death perspective, it is likely to be higher. And two, the issue that I got sidetracked.
So I'll deal with that. I'll deal with the first point while you're thinking of the second point.
Second point. But ultimately, I don't get why you intervened within our conversation, and because we had a question that we wanted to ask Ali.
It's a completely different topic.
It's a completely different topic.
I just heard him saying Jews and Jews. So as a Jew, you get a little bit nervous when Ali starts talking about Jews.
He wasn't spreading any animosity or mentioning anything.
He was saying the Jews are afraid, that Israel's afraid.
We were talking about politics within this country, and then he brought up Jeremy Corbyn, and he mentioned how it can consequently affect Jews and their state and stuff like that, which I don't really get where he was coming from. But nonetheless, I think there's a lot of animosity between you two. That doesn't bode well for the viewers here, because this is our first time here.
Okay, so apologies about that.
And one other thing, just shouting on top of each other doesn't refute one another.
So I agree with that. So to come back to the 42,000 point, I think it's a really important point. So we look at global conflicts around the world, and most people don't care.
Yeah, of course.
Most people don't.
People are inherently selfish. They don't care about what's going on.
So why is Israel and Palestine different? And I'll be brutally honest. religion.
Yeah, you're right.
It's Al-Quds, Jerusalem,
Mention
Yerushalayim.
my second point. Remember my second point.
And so if this conflict was happening anywhere else, most Muslim brothers wouldn't care, most Christians wouldn't care, and truthfully, unless it directly involved them, most Jews wouldn't care. But the difference is we've got Israel is the holiest site for Jews, the holiest site for Christians, the third holiest site for Muslims, and certainly the Muslims and the Jews are fighting over who controls it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the real question. And that's why
Going on for a long time.
42,000 people can die in Afghanistan and nobody sheds a tear. Palestinians receive more aid per capita than any other people. They receive more aid. Why is that aid not flowing to Eritrea? Why is that aid not flowing to Afghanistan? Why is it not flowing to these places where there's far more savage conflicts, far more people dying? And it's because of religion. If you remove the religion, we'd have made peace. And do you want to know what? If we removed foreign actors, so global Muslims, global Jews, Americans, Western powers, Muslims, if you remove them from the conflict and left it to the Israelis and Palestinians, they'd have made peace 71 years ago. So that